Hello, my name is Jack. Welcome back to my vault. Every mystery I bring you has an explanation, even if that explanation is dark. A government program, a cover-up, a crime. But today is different. Today I am bringing you something that has no explanation. 9 experienced hikers entered the Ural Mountains in the Soviet Union in January 1959. They were among the best-trained hikers in the country. And sometime in the middle of a clear night, all 9 of them cut their way out of their tent from the inside, ran into -30-degree snow, without shoes, without coats, and died. The Soviet government closed the investigation in 1 month. The files were classified. 60 years later, we still do not know what they saw. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident, and the vault is now open. To understand what happened, you need to know who these 9 people were. They were not amateurs. Students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, experienced, trained, passionate about mountain expeditions. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, 23 years old. On January 23, 1959, 10 hikers set off. One Yuri Yudin turned back after 5 days due to joint pain. That decision saved his life. He spent the rest of his life wondering why. The remaining 9 continued toward a peak called Mount Otorten. On February 1st, they set up camp on the slope of a mountain the indigenous Mansi people called Kholat Syakhl. In their language, that name means dead mountain. They wrote in their diary that night. They ate dinner. They went to sleep. And sometime after midnight, something happened that caused all 9 of them to make a decision that no rational, experienced hiker would ever make. When the search party found the tent on February 26th, the scene made no sense. The tent was standing. The equipment was inside. The food was inside. The shoes were inside. And the tent had been cut open from the inside with a knife. Someone had decided that cutting through the fabric was faster than using the door. Tracks showed all 9 hikers had walked away barefoot, downhill, toward the tree line, in -30 degrees. The first 2 bodies were found near a cedar tree, almost a mile away. They had built a fire. The branches were broken 4 meters up. Someone had climbed the tree, possibly to see something in the darkness. Between the cedar and the tent, 3 more bodies were found, including Igor Dyatlov himself, in poses suggesting they had been trying to crawl back toward camp. Dyatlov was found face up in the snow, his jacket unbuttoned. Unusual for someone freezing to death. The final 4 bodies, found 2 months later when the snow melted, transformed this from a tragedy into an unsolvable mystery. Nikolai Thibault-Brignol had a skull fracture so severe that bone fragments had been driven into his brain. Ludmila Dubinina had her chest crushed. 5 ribs broken on the left, 6 on the right. Simeon Zolotaryov had 5 fractured ribs and exposed skull bone. The forensic doctor compared the force to a high-speed car crash. But here is what stopped every investigator who read this case. All of these catastrophic injuries had no external wounds, no cuts, no bruises, no skin damage. The bones had been broken by a massive uniform pressure that left no visible marks. And then there was Dubinina. She was missing her tongue, her eyes, part of her lips. The official explanation was scavengers or decay, but the bodies found beside her showed none of the same damage. The Soviet investigation lasted 1 month. The conclusion, a compelling natural force. No guilty party. The files were sealed and classified. Some clothing from the final 4 bodies tested positive for radiation. The government attributed this to the Kishtim nuclear disaster 2 years earlier. Possible, not proven. More disturbing were witness reports from the same night. Multiple people across the region reported glowing orange spheres moving through the sky above the Ural Mountains that February. The sightings continued for months. One of the lead investigators, Lev Ivanov, waited until retirement to speak. He then stated that the glowing spheres were directly connected to the deaths of the 9 hikers. He never said what he believed those spheres were. In 2019, Russia reopened the case for the first time in 60 years. They announced they would consider 3 a slab avalanche or a hurricane. The possibility of any human involvement was officially excluded before the investigation even began. In 2021, Swiss scientists published a computer model supporting the slab avalanche theory. It could explain some injuries. It could not explain the missing tongue, the missing eyes, the radiation, or why 9 experienced hikers who would have known the correct response to an avalanche is to stay and dig out instead. Ran nearly a mile in the dark without shoes. Yuri Yudin, the only survivor, died in 2013. He spent 54 years reading every theory. When asked what he thought happened, he always said the same thing. He said, "I do not know, and I am not sure I want to." The 9 hikers of the Dyatlov Pass incident were between 20 and 38 years old. Students, friends, people who loved the mountains. Their cameras were found at the campsite. The photographs they took in the days before they died still exist. In the last photos, they are laughing, joking for the camera. They had no idea. The mountain pass still carries Dyatlov's name. A museum in Yekaterinburg is dedicated to this case. And the question that no government, no scientist, no investigation has ever answered remains the same. What did 9 trained, rational, experienced hikers see or hear or feel on the night of February 1st, 1959, that made all of them decide the only option was to cut through their tent and run barefoot into a blizzard? The vault for the Dyatlov Pass incident is now locked, but the next secret is already waiting. Subscribe to enter the vault. My name is Jack. Keep your eyes open.